Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode, this next webinar in the series that we provide here at Scream called How Telecoms Can Maximize Their Competitive Edge Using 5G Data. So I'd really appreciate if somebody could raise their hand to make sure that number one, you hear me okay, and number two, you can see my screen. All right, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Poe. So we have a great presentation in store today. My name is David Leichner. I'm the CMO at Scream, and I mean, I'm really surprised with how many people have signed up for this webinar and are registering. Even now, we have people coming on board. I guess it's a very exciting topic because, as we know, that 5G has been in the news a lot over the last year. Sometimes in not such a great way by some conspiracy theorists, but I think most of us realize that 5G is just the next, stage of communications, and it's going to be very interesting to look at how telecoms can maximize their competitive edge using the data that's coming in. Data stores are growing exponentially. We'll see throughout this presentation that number one, the amount of data that's coming in is huge, and number two, the potential for utilizing that data is really high. So let's jump right in, and just a couple of housekeeping notes. So if you want to ask a question, and we'll have a Q&A at the end of this session, if you want to ask a question, you can see there's a question panel that you should have in front of you, and you can just pop a question in there, and I will take those questions at the end. And also, please feel free to drop me an email at any point, david@scream.com, if there's anything that you would like me to expand on, following this webinar. Great, so let's jump right in. Okay. One more time, just to make sure that the slides are flowing. Raise of a hand, just to make sure you see the next slide called 5G Underlying Use Cases. Great, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Jean-Michel. So let's look at what is driving 5G. So first of all, we have enhanced mobile broadband, which is supercharging the networks, extremely fast speeds. We have massive machine type communications, allowing for 1 million connected smart devices and sensors per square kilometer. And we have ultra reliable and low latency communication, drastically improving the speed of communication for everything from IoT devices to autonomous vehicles and so on. And what we're going to find is that this underlying base of very fast communications, of the ability to communicate with very low latency, is going to, and is already causing a major stir in the industry when it comes to the data that's coming in, and how that data is going to be managed. If we look at what Gartner said about the infrastructure revenue forecast, wireless infrastructure revenue forecast for 5G, you can see that we're at $6.805 billion already. And this is, like 1/6 of the total spend on infrastructure already that they're expecting to have this year. That means what we're seeing is that there's going to be a huge growing spend. We've gone up 10 times in only 4 years, from 612 up to 6.8. So I think this is a trend that, when you see the implementation schedules that the operators have in place, 5G is here already, and it's just going to continue to grow. So I found this from the IIA group, and I thought it was really interesting. So I'd like to just go through it with you really quickly. 6 things to know about 5G. So number one, a GWIS technology. It stands for 5th generation wireless technology, okay? And it will fundamentally transform the role that mobile technology plays in society. So it's not even just that we're looking at 5G as being something that will increase speed and increase and decrease the latency and so on, but we're looking at it having a fundamental and making a fundamental change in what is happening in the world, in society. This is incredible, and it's freaky fast. I love that. It's freaky fast, up to 20 gigabytes per second, more than speed and reliability. So 5G networks promises low lag time, preventing that annoying jitter, other experiencing robbing issues known as latency. So many of you know that, during this past year that we've had and been suffering through Corona around the world, there have been times where operators actually had to decrease the performance, decrease the levels of service on even if we look at what type of applications like Netflix, for example, because it was just taking up too much of the broadband. Because what's happening is all these people are sitting at home. They're either working from home or they want to be entertained, so they're looking at Netflix. They can't do anything else. So they actually had to reduce that, and that was actually bringing us back into some of those annoying jitters. But they didn't have those 5G networks out there. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have had that. Also, greater efficiency. Not only is 5G faster, but it is much more efficient. So it will consume a lot less power also on the device and also on the equipment that is running those networks. Transformational technology. So today, mobile telecom technology isn't classified as general purpose. We're looking at ultimately advancing mobile from a set of technologies connecting people and information to a unified fabric connecting people and machines to just about anything. We think about the communications, revolution. Well, this is taking that communications revolution and actually embedding it into the day-to-day lives of every person on this planet. And with that will come the big economic bang. So 5G will unleash unprecedented economic growth, and we're talking about $3.5 trillion in revenue and support, and 22 million jobs added by 2035. So, it's an incredible number to think that technology, especially communications technology, can have the power to boost real global GDP growth by $3 trillion from 2020 up to 2035. So I love this. I think, every one of us should have this on our wall. And, it's just an incredible, informatic, incredible, just showing us, where 5G is going. So let's go to IDC's incredible forecast. Global data sphere to hit 175 zettabytes by 2025. 175 zettabytes by 20. Does anybody have any idea what a zettabyte is? Anybody have any idea what 175 zettabytes is? Does anybody have any idea what it's going to mean to manage 175 zettabytes of data? This is going to be the challenge of a lifetime for all of us data professionals. And it's something that we're already starting to see that companies are having issues with now. And it's something that is just going to get harder and harder and harder. And that data is going to sit at the core in the large data centers, in the on-premise sites. And if you think that, or if anybody thinks that all of the data in the world is going to be in the cloud by 2022, it's not going to happen. And in fact, some of the large industry analysts are beginning to realize that, and they're actually taking back what they said years ago, that data is going to be, almost all data is going to be in the cloud by 2022, 2023. So actually, IDC has a bit more of a interesting forecast, and they say that there's going to be a breakdown between the on-premise large data centers, the amount of data that's going to be on the edge, and the amount of data that's going to be in the endpoint. And in the endpoint, we can consider that maybe partially cloud, partially edge, devices, IoT devices, bots, AR, VR, and so on and so forth. A lot of that data is going to be moving to the cloud to be analyzed. Some of that data is going to be analyzed on the edge. Very interesting situation this market is going to be in a couple of years. And if we look at VentureBeat's, what they say that 5G is already lapping 4G milestones, and that it's setting the stage for massive enterprise data growth. That means even where we saw a really huge ramp up for 4G, guess what? 5G is blowing that away. So what do we see, our colleagues saying? Let's look at what Michael Travia, from the Orange CTIO, said recently in an interview. He said that data traffic is growing at a rate of 40% a year, which means the operator must continually invest in the network to add capacity. Well, what else must they invest in? If they're seeing this significant growth of data in the consumer enterprise market, they must invest in data management and data analytics and being able to handle the data management, data analytics at scale. So if we're talking about this amazing growth of data, then as he said here, in the significant growth of data traffic in the consumer and enterprise markets would unlock key opportunities in a variety of sectors. Well, that is 100% true, but that will very much be determined by how that data is ingested, managed, and analyzed in order that companies and enterprises will be able to take advantage of these opportunities. So a statistic that we talk about quite often is so relevant here, which is that as data grows, we're actually analyzing a lot less of that data. So as you can see on the chart here on the left, when we have data at the 10 terabyte level that's growing to 50 terabytes, right? Sorry, data lakes, the middle number here. So if we have a 100 terabyte data lake, we're actually only analyzing about 10 terabytes of that data, 10%. But as that data lake grows up to 10 petabytes of data, well, most companies are only analyzing like 0.5%, maybe 50 terabytes. That means that 90+% of the data is not being analyzed, and those insights are being lost. And that's a huge number. And this is something that we can see already in the market. The companies that are able to analyze their data and the majority of their data and analyze it, before it gets old, before it gets irrelevant, they are able to compete much better in the market, and they are taking the lead in the market. We can see it in new companies that are competing with the old, Fortune 1000 companies. They're coming in the insurance industry, in the banking industry, trading, healthcare, telehealthcare, wherever it is that that we have the data coming in and the ability to analyze that data, that those companies will definitely be leading the market going forward. So what are we hearing from operators around the world? We actually are working with some of the leading operators around the world. And some of the things that we're hearing, things like queries are running way too long. So our analytical SQL queries are running way too long. And sometimes they don't execute at all. Why? Because maybe our IT departments are shutting them down because it's taking too much of our resources. Maybe it's taking 2 days to run, and at the end they just give up on it. And they're analyzing only around 10% of the data. And the other thing is that it takes a really long time just to prepare those queries, just to get the data in. And each time I want to run new queries, I have to prepare that data and prepare those queries itself. And sometimes just the complexity of the data is too great, that it just causes those queries to run a really long time. And the fact of the matter is my business needs more comprehensive analytics, which they aren't getting, because we are not able to either analyze our queries quickly enough, or our data quickly enough, and execute those queries quickly, or we are not able to analyze enough data at scale. So we're hitting the wall. So, if we get to 10, 20 terabytes of data and we want to go up to 300, 400 petabyte of data, we're having big problems doing that, if at all. And it doesn't just mean throwing more CPU servers at the problem. It doesn't mean throwing more software licenses of our legacy data warehouses. We just can't get there. Big problem. So what are we delivering at Scream to the world of telecom, to the world of communications? We are delivering a data analytics acceleration platform for massive data, specifically geared at accelerating massive data analytics. And this is driving game-changing insights and value to some of the companies we work with here. You can see a few of them highlighted. So We're making a difference also in NetOps, where we're able to preempt network issues and to reduce operating costs and to effectively plan what equipment is needed, effectively plan for maintenance updates and so on. Improving significantly quality of service because we're able to predict where there's going to be heavy usage and at what times of the day, and we can relieve the congestion by adding more bandwidth or by putting in more network equipment, and we can significantly reduce dropped calls. And we'll talk about some of these, and we'll talk about how operators are able to really benefit from their data by simply improving on some of these situations, some of these issues, like, for example, Customer 360, being able to understand their customers, being able to understand what the customers are looking for, what kind of services, what times of the day, what locations. And in that case, you'll be improving significantly the customer experience and, of course, reducing churn along the way while increasing revenue. And lastly, here we have cybersecurity. This is, this is a major issue for many of our customers, whether it's preventing DDoS attacks on their networks, whether it's accurately uncovering threats. And remember that if we're talking about cyber, so if you know how a SOC runs, you might have a couple of data analysts in there or a security analyst that are looking through all of the alerts that come in, and a huge amount of those alerts are going to be false positives. And if you can then analyze that massive amounts of data that's coming into your SOC or into your SIEM, so you will be able to significantly reduce the amount of alerts that you're going to be looking at and false positives, and you'll be able to spend your time looking at the real threats. And you can do this also by using different artificial intelligence and machine learning models, and we're able to help with the data preparation for that. So let's take a look at some of the use cases that we're working on. So let's take, for example, LGU+. So, very large mobile operator, and they are working with Hadoop, as I'm sure that many of you on the line, wow, I'm looking at the number of people here. It's incredible. It's incredible. I think this is the largest audience we've ever had for a webinar. So I guess there's a lot of interest in 5G. Wow, great to have you all on board. So they have an existing Hadoop-based architecture, which couldn't support the scope and the complexity of the analytics that were required because the data was growing so fast, and their aggregated reports did not allow for targeted insights. So they brought in a data acceleration platform. I can give you a hint as to which data acceleration platform that was, but then I'd be giving away the secret. So we were able to help them to increase significantly the amount of customer data that they analyzed literally by hundreds of terabytes. And not only that, but we're able to give them the ability to slice and dice the raw data. So the amount of data preparation time went down significantly. The amount of time that it took or it takes to create queries went down significantly, and they're able to drill down on the raw data in order to uncover specific customer trends. So the benefits, as you can see, significantly increased and improved quality of service, which makes the customers more happy and it reduces churn. They're able to offer targeted advertisements in very much location-based and based on the time of the day, and to increase the revenues and efficiency. Another example, and this is actually a tier 1 mobile operator, and this is a really interesting one because this plays a big role also in 5G. So when organizations are looking to uncover, when operators are looking to uncover where they have issues of signal loss. So what they try to do is they try to analyze specific geographic locations, and usually they break it down to 200 meters by 200 meters, 100 meters by 100 meters, and they take the coordinates of those geographic locations, and then they are going to analyze those. They're going to map them, and then they will create these mappings to understand these heat maps, geographic heat maps, to understand where they're losing signal strength and where they need to invest and to update the mapping of their cell towers and the associated equipment. Now, this is a huge issue also in 4G and also in 5G, because when you have signal loss, you are going to have unhappy customers, and especially 5G, because if we're telling everyone to upgrade to 5G devices and to, enjoy the low latency and the very much of, advanced speed, then they want to make sure that they have good signal strength and that path loss is eliminated as much as possible. So, here we're talking about very fast ingestion of data, because the data that is involved here, we're talking about literally trillions of rows of data. We have a 1 to 8 compression rate on that data, and we're able to analyze millions and millions of records very quickly. And we were able to take the queries on that data and bring it down from 2.5 days to 15 minutes. And what that enabled them to do is, if they were able to run those queries once, twice a week, because of the time it took to ingest the data and the time it took to actually query that data, now they're going to be doing it several times a day. So by doing it several times a day, the results will be that much better. And not only that, then they'll be able to significantly reduce the areas that they're going to be checking. So if in the past they were doing 200 meters by 200 meters, now maybe they'll go down to 10 meters by 10 meters. And that will give them a much better, a much better reading on where they have signal loss, and help them to better provide better service to their customers. Another example, AIS, which is one of the largest telecoms in Asia, specifically in Thailand. They have billions of CDRs every week, difficulty in scaling their existing legacy data warehouse, and they had very, very slow querying of data. We came in and we were able to help them to reduce reporting time from 2 hours to 10 minutes. And what blew them away was really like the load time, which we reduced from 6 hours to 20 minutes. And one GPU server was able to replace 5 racks of 7,600 CPU cores. So here I'm giving you a little bit of the secret sauce of Scream, and how we talk about how operators are able to benefit and leverage 5G data. Well, there is a little bit of trickery involved, if you want to call it that. We've built our technology, our data acceleration platform, to run on GPU servers, which are the fastest servers in the market today. And you need, let's say, 1 box instead of, 50, 60 boxes of CPUs, maybe even more. So not only that, so we're green, we're more energy efficient, really in line with the whole messaging of the 5G implementations, that we're increasing speed, reducing latency, and very much a green, energy efficient type of implementation. So we help them improve their NetOps and first call resolution rate, significantly reduce churn, help them to do better competitive analysis, and to optimize their ad spend. Their ad spend being where they were advertising in Bangkok specifically, and being able to personalize by demographics and geographics, and also the time of day that they were putting out advertisements, and putting out advertisements also on billboards where the users were, based on the location-based technology. So then another example, one of the largest messaging companies in India. So here, the challenge was that their database was significantly restricted for doing analytics because it was overloaded. And I don't know if you know what's happening in India, but the government has come out with regulations that organizations and enterprises need to go digital. And so they need to be able to provide their customers with messaging and with results of queries in a very short period of time, and they need to be able to do this countrywide. So ACL had 2 choices. Either they were going to grow significantly and grow very fast, or they were going to have some issues. So using Scream, so significant the filters that were placed on the historical queries to reduce the database load, they were able to take those out. They were able to do deep data analytics, facilitating over 40,000 queries a day. These are customer queries, these are self-service queries, detailed high-frequency reporting, drill-down capabilities, rich visual reports, and most importantly, they were able to improve customer service, increase operational efficiency to the point that they grew as needed to support the government regulations, and they were recently acquired as well. So we were very happy to help them also to get to the point where they were able to be acquired, and also to, of course, to help them to be able to serve the local community. So actually, I just had a question come in. Maybe we'll take a little break, just a second break here for just to answer one question. So the question is, do you present or will you be presenting in the MWC event in Barcelona? So actually the answer is yes. We've been to Barcelona a few times. We love MWC. And we will hopefully be there this year. They are now finalizing the details about that event. I'm sure many of you are in the telecom area, and so you know about MWC. I personally have been to that event, I think 5 times or 6 times, and of course, Scream is looking forward to being at that event. So thank you very much for that question. Moving on to the next use case. So here you can see Cellcom. This was a great one. They had serious network problems with dropped calls. And in order to analyze where those calls were dropping, they had to do some serious manual analytics. And this was causing major problems and major outages. And it escalated the time that it took to identify where those problems were. So we integrated with Spotfire, and we were rapidly analyzing the data that we were pulling out of their eNode BS. And this was taking place at 33 billion rows scanned in seconds, and the engineers were able to pinpoint where the problems were and where they needed to either come in and maintain or upgrade network equipment, or maybe they needed to add more base stations. So this was something that we were able to help them with, and the drop calls were reduced by 90%, improved quality of service and customer service, and reducing churn. So Mr. Hokpo asked how many subscribers in AIS. I believe up until last year, there were over 50 million subscribers in AIS. So I think they're one of the biggest, one of the bigger telecoms in Thailand. And if I'm not mistaken, they're also a subsidiary of Singtel, Singtel is one of the huge conglomerates of the Asia Pacific region. Another example at Orange. So here, 30 million subscribers with 4.3 billion cell records. They were having issues analyzing their data, and the queries were limited in time frame. Again, we integrated here and with Spotfire, and we were able to do rapid analytics of their CDR data, and we helped them to reduce capacity by 60% and to uncover new customer usage trends and improved quality of service. So this was another excellent example of how we're helping operators to analyze their data. And here's an example for cybersecurity. This customer was actually getting hit with DDoS attacks, and so they needed to be able to analyze their activities at peak usage times, and to ensure that when they were getting hit with a lot of traffic, that it wasn't from DDoS attacks. So we needed to be able to go in and to rapidly ingest and analyze massive data from multiple sources in order to be able to tell them whether or not they were, let's say, in the midst of or about to get hit with a DDoS attack. And just for any of you who might not know what a DDoS attack is, we're talking about a cyber attack where a hacker or nation state or whatever is sending a lot of traffic at your networks in order to basically bring them to a standstill. So here they integrated with SASVIA in order to be able to actually interface into their AI algorithms, which were helping them to detect anomalies. And they were able to, the benefits they achieved, they were able to detect at a high accuracy rate the actual threats and to minimize false alarms or false positives. And this was also helped them to reduce operational costs. So I'd like to, I think I am giving you, some good examples of how telecoms are working in order to analyze their data, also to have better quality of service, also to guard against cybersecurity attacks, to be able to understand their customers better and provide better customer experience, and so on. So I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes now about actually what it is that we're doing to help them. So you can see here, Scream built for massive data analytics. So I mentioned previously that we are powered by GPUs. So we're massively parallel engine with which is much faster and smaller than CPUs. We're able to ingest data really, really quickly. So if we're ingesting data, for example, from network, data stores, we're able to bring that data in at anywhere between 3 and 4 terabytes an hour per GPU. So if you have a server with 6 GPUs, you're able to bring in between 18 and 24 terabytes an hour. And we have an always-on compression facility feature that enables you to. So for example, if you're bringing in 100 terabytes, you can knock that down to 10 terabytes of data, which means that the actual data that will be analyzed will only be 10 terabytes, so you can do it even faster. We are massively scalable. You can go from terabytes to petabytes. We're not limited by RAM. We have a very small footprint, and we have an underlying SQL database, ScreamDB, which is ANSI SQL, standard connectors to the business intelligence or data science products that you've been using in the past, Tableau, Qlik, SAS-Via, and so on. And we're extensible for ML and AI, and you can work with Python, Jupyter, and some of the other applications. We consider these our pillars of what it means to be analyzing data really quickly. So first of all, we can run SQL queries really fast. I mean, when I say really fast, I'm talking about bringing queries down from days to hours, hours to minutes. We can analyze more data. We can scale you up. If you're analyzing today 10 terabytes, 20, 50, 100, and you want to get up to hundreds of terabytes, petabytes of data, we can do that for you. Probably the most important piece here is being able to analyze more dimensions, because usually where people get hit is when they have to analyze complex joins, multiple tables, and this is where queries can take hours and hours and hours and often not end. And lastly, we can shorten the data preparation cycle, because you're able to analyze ad hoc queries on the raw data. This is what the pipeline would look like. So you have web analytics, Parquet, various data types, CSVs. You have Hadoop. You might have machine data. You might have other databases, Oracle, MS SQL, DB2. You might have legacy data warehouses like Greenplum or Exadata or Netezza or some of the others. The data that you want to analyze would be ingested really quickly into Scream, running on GPUs. And then you would analyze that data either using the Scream interface or using one of the visualizers, the front-end visualizers, like like Tableau, like Qlik, like SAS-Via, and so on. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, now would be a good time to throw them into the queue. And the last slide that I have for you before I take some more of the questions that I see are coming in, this is from the Gartner organization, who have recognized that Scream is the company for handling massive data stores. And this was actually in a report that they did beginning of last year, called Selecting SQL Engines for Modern Data Workloads. And they said Scream is architected for massive data stores and adds enhancements to the data warehousing lifecycle and speeds up data ingestion. So, they basically recognize the fact that, that we are able, and we are the company that is dealing with massive data stores. And in fact, when I spoke to the analysts at Gartner, the word massive, whenever they talk massive, they say, yeah, we know that Scream is the company out there that is handling massive data. So with that, you can see here again, my email is david@scream.com, and I'd like to take a few of the questions that have come in. Okay, great. So one of those questions is, do we work on premise and also on the cloud? That's an interesting question. Not only do we work on premise, which is where some of these use cases were executed, but we support the cloud. We support Scream today can run with AWS, with Google Cloud, with Azure from Microsoft, and also from Alibaba, and also from IBM. And we also work with some private organizations that private companies that are that have GPU bases, and we work with them if you want to implement Scream, for example, in a bare metal type of scenario. Okay, so the next question is, how many GPUs do I need in order to handle 100 terabytes of data? That's an interesting one. Actually, it really depends on the deployment, but we've had companies that have worked with a standard server with 2 GPUs. And Scream obviously running. Scream is a software company, just to be clear about that. We don't provide GPUs, we don't provide servers. So we've seen companies that can run 100 terabytes on a standard server with 2 GPUs. They compress that down to between 10 and 20 terabytes of data, and they're doing their analytics off of that data. Okay, any other questions? Okay, great. So the question is, are we geared more for DBAs or are we geared more for data analytic professionals, data scientists? So the answer to that is that both can work with Scream. As I mentioned previously, Scream supports ANSI SQL, so any DBA that has experience with SQL can work with Scream. But in many cases, what we see happening is that data engineers will prepare the data, and then they will give that data to their data scientists or their data analytics professionals, and they will work with a typical application that they're running, whether it's Tableau, whether it's Click or Sasvia or Power BI, and they will be able to access the data and to be able to get the reports really quickly. Great. Look, our time has run out. If anybody has any additional questions, please send them to me at david@scream.com. And I really enjoyed being here with you today, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to having you visit us visit our website at www.scream.com. It's quite comprehensive, and you'll see there a lot of information, also about Scream, also about data analytics, acceleration, also the differences between CPUs and GPUs and what that means to your organization, and of course a lot of the use cases. We do really well with telecom operators because we're able to show real and significant benefit to the operators, and we also work in other industries like finance, healthcare, and so on and so forth. So I thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to having you come and visit and to continuing the conversation offline. Take care. Thank you, and have a great day, afternoon, or evening.